Alright, so in this video I will continue talking about um, the nerves of strict omega categories. So in the last video I talked about, well, what the orientals are and how mapping out of these orientals gives you a nerve functor out of the category of omega categories into the category of simplicial sets, but it is not full because, well, the nerve of an omega category doesn't remember which of the simplices correspond to the identities. And so, well, in particular, you can't, well, recover the composition that you had in the original strict omega category. And so, well, that's how the nerve functor into the simplicial sets fails to be full. But somehow the identities are the only thing that we have to remember in order to get a full and faithful nerve functor. So here's how we make it that precise. So a Mach simplicial set is a pair consisting of X, which is just a simplicial set, and this Tx is, well, a graded subset. So this Xn denotes the set of n simplices in the simplicial set X, and this Txn is a subset of that set. So we ask that this contain all the degenerate simplices, and, well, also these are, well, the elements of this subset are called the Mach n simplices of X, and these are what's meant to be the, well, the simplices corresponding to the identities. So we are not allowing marked zero simplices because, well, identity zero cells don't make sense. And we are asking that all degenerate simplices be marked, well, because, I mean, well, at least in the nerve of an omega category, the way you degenerate a simplex is, well, you sort of, take a lower dimensional thing and you take the identity of that lower dimensional cell. So in particular, the interior of that simplex is an identity. So if we are marking those simplices corresponding to the identities, then its degenerate ones should be marked. Anyway, so that is the definition of marked simplicial set, and these things form, well, a category whose morphisms are, well, simplicial maps that preserve the marked simplices. And we can now define this new nerve functor from omega cat into the marked simplicial sets where, well, the n simplices of the nerve of X are still the omega functors out of the oriental into X. But now we can also equip it with marking. And the way we do that is, well, I mean, a omega functor from On to X is marked if and only if, well, this On has a unique generating n cell, and F is marked if and only if this generating n cell is sent to an identity by F. And so now this is fully faithful, and moreover, you can characterize the essential image as the strict complicial sets. So, well, these things will be defined on the other side of the board. But so the history behind this theorem is that, so first, John Roberts came up with, well, this conjecture. So he didn't have a proof. He only had this as a conjecture. And in fact, he didn't even have a precise conjecture because he didn't know how to construct this nerve functor. So John Roberts came up with this, well, conjecture with the correct definition of strict complicial sets without knowing what the nerve is, which is quite impressive, I find. And then Rob Street constructed the orientals, which made precise what this nerve functor is, and then Dominic Verity proved that this is indeed an equivalence between the category of omega categories and the category of strict complicial sets. And so here is the definition of these strict complicial sets. So a marked simplicial set X and Tx is a strict complicial set if it satisfies these three conditions. The first says that, well, so by definition, the marked simplices of a marked simplicial set contain all degenerate simplices. But what this is saying is that in dimension 1, these are the only marked simplices. And well, I mean, if we want this Tx1 to be the set of identity one cells, then this is just saying that, well, all degenerate one simplices correspond to identities, and there are no more identities in your category. So in like dimension 2, Tx2 would consist of all the commutative triangles in your omega category, and not all such commutative triangles are degenerate. But in dimension 1, well, these things you get as degenerate one simplices are the only identities in your omega category. And here, well, a little more complicated conditions with these mysterious things, so horns, simplices with a dash, and simplices with a double dash, and well, I will define these things in the next video, but here is, well, one way to interpret these conditions. So the first condition is somehow saying that each composable pair in X, or composable pair of simplices in X, admits a unique composition. Is, well, intentional that I'm saying composition rather than a unique composite, but well, because, well, I mean, this simplex, I mean, the missing face of this simplex, which is the K1, is the composite, but somehow this whole simplex is encoding the composition. But anyway, so that is, well, I mean, so in the next video, I will explain what these things are and why you can think of these things as encoding this kind of condition. And the other condition is just saying that marked simplices are closed under this composition. And well, I mean, these should look like reasonable things to ask. Well, I mean, because we are trying to characterize the nerves of omega categories, and well, if you are an omega category, then well, you should be able to compose things, and also, well, a composite of identities should be an identity itself. So what might be a little mysterious is that these conditions are enough to capture, well, to characterize the nerves of omega categories. Well, I mean, but that is somehow encoded in the combinatorics of these things, which, well, sort of, which I discarded when like summarizing or like interpreting these conditions as these things. So, well, we'll see the details in the next video, but So here is the definition of strict complicial set. Well, these are precisely the nerves of strict categories.